Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Los Angeles International Airport, 7:32 a.m. Sophia Martinez adjusted her backpack strap for the 10th time in 5 minutes, her hazel eyes nervously scanning the crowded LAX terminal. First time flying alone for a serious job, first time leaving California at 26, and of course, it had to be on the day LA traffic decided to pay special tribute to the roadway apocalypse. Flight 847 to New York. Boarding at Gate B23, echoed through the speakers. Gate B23? Where the heck is Gate B23? Sophia shot down the corridor, dodging hurried executives and families, loaded with luggage. Her bright teal Converse, a relic from her I'm going to conquer the world college phase, squeaked against the polished floor as she mentally calculated. 5 minutes to get there, +5 for the line, plus tonk. The impact was so violent that Sophia felt her teeth rattle. Her backpack flew, spilling notebooks, pens, and, embarrassingly, a pack of tampons that gracefully slid to the feet of a man in a suit. I'm so sorry, Sophia began, but stopped when she looked up. The man in front of her was ridiculously handsome, like Netflix movie protagonist handsome. Perfectly styled chestnut hair, green eyes that seemed stolen from an emerald forest, and a suit that probably cost more than the rent on her Venice Beach apartment. And he was looking at her with the most arrogant expression Sophia had ever seen. You could at least watch where you're going, he said, his voice carrying a slightly New York accent and poorly disguised irritation. Sophia blinked, still a bit dazed. I was running because you West Coast people always show up late and then expect the world to adapt to your chill timeline, he interrupted, bending down to pick up the tampon pack with 2 fingers, as if it were radioactive. Here's your item. The realization hit like a piano falling from the 10th floor. West Coast people, Sophia repeated, feeling heat rise up her neck. Look here, you ridiculous, stuck-up jerk. I don't know who you think you are, but passengers on flight 847 to New York. Final boarding call at gate B23. Sophia froze. Darn. The man raised a perfectly groomed eyebrow. Flight 847? What a coincidence. He lifted his own Italian leather briefcase. Maybe we should continue this charming conversation on board. I'd rather sit next to a crying baby, Sophia muttered, hastily gathering her things. At least crying babies don't make up excuses for their complete lack of punctuality. Sophia turned to face him, eyes flashing. You know what? You're exactly the kind of person that gives East Coast people a bad name. Arrogant, pretentious, and probably never worked a day in your life for anything you have. His smile turned dangerously slow. Interesting theory. It's not a theory, it's an observation. Let me guess. Daddy paid for college, got the job through connections, and now you walk around thinking you're better than everyone else. Are you finished? I haven't even started. Sophia shoved the last notebook into her backpack with more force than necessary. People like you are the reason this country is so divided. You think being born with a silver spoon gives you the right to treat others like garbage? The man was quiet for a moment, studying Sophia's flushed face with an unreadable expression. You don't know absolutely anything about me, he said finally, his voice low and controlled. I know more than I need to know. Final call for flight 847. Gate B23 will be closed in 2 minutes. Sophia cursed under her breath and shot toward the gate, leaving behind the mysterious man and his irritating arrogance. 40 minutes later, settled in seat 14 amperes, Sophia finally managed to relax. The flight was smooth. She'd gotten a window seat, and, best of all, there was no sign of Mr. Ridiculously Arrogant anywhere. Maybe he'd missed the flight. Maybe there was poetic justice in the world. Excusez-moi, miss. Sophia looked up from the book she'd been pretending to read for the last 20 minutes. A blonde flight attendant smiled politely. Would you mind coming with me? We have an upgrade to business class for you. Upgrade? Sophia blinked, but I didn't ask for, courtesy of the company. You're Sophia Martinez from Pinnacle Solutions, correct? Sophia nodded slowly. It was strange. But who was she to refuse a better seat? 5 minutes later, settled in the luxurious business class, Sophia was starting to feel like Cinderella at the ball when she heard a familiar voice, Champagne, Mr. Thornton. Sophia slowly turned in her seat and felt her stomach plummet to her feet. 2 seats ahead, raising a crystal glass with a smile that mixed amusement and revenge, was the man from the airport. Thank you, he said to the flight attendant without taking his eyes off Sophia. And please ask my new colleague to join me. We have a lot to discuss. Sophia's world collapsed in slow motion. Colleague, Mr. Thornton? Sophia swallowed hard, her hands trembling slightly as she connected the dots. Ethan Thornton, CEO of Pinnacle Solutions. Her new boss, the man she had just called a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk. "Looks like," Ethan said, raising his glass in a sarcastic toast. "We're going to be very close colleagues. Miss Martinez." Sophia closed her eyes and sighed deeply. "This can only happen to me." Pinnacle Solutions, Manhattan office. Monday morning. Sophia stood in front of the gleaming glass skyscraper, her reflection staring back at her like a deer caught in headlights. The Pinnacle Solutions logo seemed to mock her from the chrome facade, and she could swear she heard the universe laughing. 3 days. She'd had 3 whole days to mentally prepare for this moment since the flight from nowhere. 3 days to craft the perfect apology, to figure out how to salvage her career before it even started. To maybe, just maybe, convince Ethan Thornton that she wasn't completely insane. Instead, she'd spent those 3 days stress-eating Ben and Jerry's and rehearsing resignation speeches in the mirror of her tiny Manhattan sublet. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, adjusting her blazer for the 20th time. "He's just a person, a very successful, very attractive, very powerful person who you insulted in the most public way possible. But still just a person." The lobby was a testament to modern American corporate design. Clean lines, natural light, and enough marble to build a small monument. Sophia approached the reception desk, where a woman with perfectly styled hair and a smile that could power Times Square greeted her. "Good morning. You must be Sophia Martinez. I'm Chloe, Mr. Thornton's assistant." Chloe's enthusiasm was infectious. But Sophia caught something else in her tone: pity, amusement. "Welcome to Pinnacle Solutions." "Thank you," Sophia managed, her voice slightly shaky from nerves. "Mr. Thornton asked me to bring you straight up to his office when you arrived." Chloe's smile faltered just a bit. "He's eager to meet with you." Eager. That was one way to put it. The elevator ride to the 45th floor felt like ascending to her execution. Chloe chatted pleasantly about company benefits and office culture. But Sophia's mind was elsewhere, specifically replaying every terrible thing she'd said to her new boss in vivid, mortifying detail. "Ridiculous. Stuck-up yerk. Never worked a day in your life. Silver spoon." The elevator dinged, and Sophia's stomach dropped to somewhere around the 30th floor. "Right this way," Chloe chirped, leading Sophia down a corridor lined with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. "Mr. Thornton's office is just..." "Chloe." The voice stopped Sophia dead in her tracks, deep, controlled, and unfortunately familiar. Ethan Thornton stood in the doorway of a corner office that was roughly the size of Sophia's entire apartment. He was wearing a different suit, charcoal this time, with a crisp white shirt that made his green eyes even more striking. His chestnut hair was perfectly styled, and he looked like he'd stepped out of a Fortune 500 magazine spread. "Miss Martinez," he said, his tone professionally neutral, right on time. Sophia's mouth went dry. "Mr. Thornton, please, come in." He stepped aside, gesturing toward his office. "Chloe, hold my calls for the next hour." "Of course, sir." Chloe shot Sophia a look that was equal parts sympathy and curiosity before disappearing down the hallway. Sophia followed Ethan into his office, trying not to gawk at the stunning view of Manhattan spread out below them. The office was impeccably decorated, modern furniture, expensive art, and a wall of awards and accolades that spoke to years of success. "Please, have a seat," Ethan said. Settling behind his massive desk, Sophia perched on the edge of a leather chair that probably cost more than her car, clasping her hands in her lap to keep them from shaking. They stared at each other for a long moment, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. "So," Ethan said finally, leaning back in his chair, "this is awkward." Despite everything, Sophia felt a small laugh escape her lips. "That's one way to put it. I have to say, Miss Martinez, in 15 years of running this company, I've never had a new employee call me a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk, before even knowing who I was." Sophia's cheeks burned. "About that, I'm curious," Ethan continued, studying her with those impossibly green eyes. "What exactly gave you the impression that I was... how did you put it? Born with a silver spoon?" I jumped to conclusions." Sophia swallowed hard. "I was stressed, running late, and I took it out on you. It was unprofessional and unfair. And I'm deeply sorry." Ethan picked up a pen and tapped it against his desk. "Tell me, Miss Martinez, what do you know about my background?" Sophia realized she knew absolutely nothing about Ethan Thornton beyond his name and position. "Not much, honestly. I grew up in Queens," Ethan said quietly. "My father was a mechanic. My mother worked double shifts as a nurse. I got into Columbia on a full scholarship, worked 3 jobs to pay for everything else, and started this company with $2,000 I saved from delivering pizzas. Sophia felt her face flush even deeper. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. You saw an expensive suit and made assumptions. Ethan's voice wasn't angry exactly, but there was an edge to it, the same way you assumed I'd never worked a day in my life. Mr. Thornton, do you know how many 18-hour days I've worked to build this company? How many weekends I've spent in this office instead of anywhere else? Sophia shook her head, feeling smaller by the second. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, Ethan said, his tone softening slightly. I'm telling you because I want you to understand something. I don't care where you come from, what your background is, or how much money your parents have. I care about one thing. Can you do the job? Sophia looked up at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. Yes, I can do the job. Good. Ethan set down his pen and leaned forward, because, despite our colorful introduction, your resume is impressive. Your work at TechStart LA was innovative. Your recommendations are glowing, and your interview was the best I've seen in years. Really? Sophia couldn't keep the surprise out of her voice. Really? Which is why I'm willing to pretend the airport incident never happened. If you are, Sophia blinked. You're not firing me? For the first time since she'd met him, Ethan's expression softened into something that might have been amusement. Miss Martinez, if I fired every employee who made a bad first impression, this company would be run by robots. Thank you, Sophia said, relief flooding through her. I promise I won't let you down. I'm counting on it. Ethan stood up and walked around his desk. Chloe will show you to your office and introduce you to the team. We have a big project launching next month, and you're going to be leading the user experience design. Sophia stood as well, trying to process the rapid shift from impending doom to, was this actually happening? One more thing, Ethan said as they reached the door. The company has a strict policy about workplace relationships. Sophia's cheeks burned again. What? Just making sure we're clear on the boundaries, Ethan said, his expression unreadable. Professional behavior at all times. Of course, Sophia managed. Absolutely. Ethan opened the door and called out, Chloe, please show Miss Martinez to her office. As Chloe appeared with another bright smile, Ethan turned back to Sophia. Welcome to Pinnacle Solutions, Miss Martinez. I look forward to working with you. Sophia shook his offered hand, trying to ignore the way her pulse jumped at the contact. Thank you, Mr. Thornton. I won't disappoint you. I'm sure you won't, Ethan said, and, for just a moment, Sophia could have sworn she saw something warmer than professional courtesy in his eyes. As Chloe led her away, Sophia caught Ethan watching her through his office window, his expression thoughtful. Maybe this job wouldn't be the disaster she'd imagined after all. But, as she settled into her new office, which had an amazing view of the city and was bigger than her entire college dorm, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan Thornton was far more complicated than she'd initially thought, and that scared her almost as much as it intrigued her. Pinnacle Solutions. 3 weeks later, Sophia stared at her computer screen, the cursor blinking mockingly in the empty presentation slide. The Horizon project, Pinnacle Solutions' biggest client launch in 5 years, was due for review in exactly 4 hours, and she was nowhere near ready. Come on, Martinez, she muttered to herself, downing her 4th cup of coffee. You've got this. It's just the most important presentation of your career, in front of the most intimidating CEO in Manhattan. No pressure. The open plan office buzzed with its usual Monday morning energy around her, but Sophia felt like she was in a bubble of panic. Her team had been working around the clock for 3 weeks, and, while the user interface design was solid, something was missing, that spark that would make Mr. Thornton actually impressed, rather than just professionally satisfied. Rough morning? Sophia looked up to find Lucas Rivera, the lead developer, approaching with 2 cups of coffee and a sympathetic smile. Lucas had been her lifeline since day one. Funny, brilliant, and completely immune to office politics. Define rough, Sophia said, accepting the coffee gratefully. On a scale of mild turbulence to engine failure at 30,000 feet, I'm somewhere around oxygen masks have deployed. Lucas laughed, settling into the chair across from her desk. The Horizon presentation? The Horizon presentation, Sophia confirmed. I've redesigned the user flow 6 times. And it's still not right. There's something missing, but I can't figure out what. Maybe you're overthinking it, Lucas suggested. Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. Before Sophia could respond, a familiar voice cut through the office chatter. Good morning, everyone. Sophia's head snapped up to see Ethan walking through the office, his usual confident stride carrying him between the desks. He was wearing a charcoal gray suit today, and his chestnut hair was slightly mussed, as if he'd been running his hands through it. Morning, Mr. Thornton. Several voices called out. Ethan nodded in acknowledgement, but his eyes found Sophia's across the room. For just a moment, their gazes locked, and Sophia felt that familiar flutter in her chest that she'd been trying to ignore for 3 weeks. Miss Martinez, Ethan said, approaching her desk. How's the Horizon project coming along? It's progressing, Sophia said quickly, minimizing the empty slide on her screen. I'll have everything ready for the 4 review. I'm sure you will, Ethan said, but Sophia caught something in his tone. Was that doubt? Actually, I wanted to discuss some adjustments to the timeline. Sophia's stomach dropped. Adjustments? My office. 10 minutes, Ethan said, then turned to Lucas. Rivera, I'll need you there, too. We might need to pivot the development approach. As Ethan walked away, Sophia felt her carefully constructed confidence crumble. Lucas gave her a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Hey, it's probably nothing, he said. Maybe he just wants to move the deadline up. Or maybe he's realized I'm completely in over my head, Sophia muttered. 10 minutes later, Sophia found herself back in Ethan's corner office, this time with Lucas beside her and a conference table covered in project documents. Ethan was pacing behind his desk, his usual composed demeanor showing cracks of frustration. I just got off the phone with Horizon Enterprises, Ethan said without preamble. They're concerned about the user experience flow. Apparently, their CEO tried the beta version and found it unintuitive. Sophia's heart sank. Unintuitive. Her exact words were, confusing and unnecessarily complicated, Ethan said, finally stopping his pacing to look at both of them. We have 48 hours to fix this, or we lose the contract. 48 hours? Lucas's voice cracked slightly. Mr. Thornton, that's barely enough time to— I know what it is, Rivera, Ethan interrupted, his tone sharper than usual, which is why I'm pulling you both off everything else. This project is now your only priority. Sophia felt the weight of Ethan's expectation pressing down on her. What specifically did she find confusing? Ethan picked up a tablet and handed it to her. She recorded her user session. Maybe watching it will help. Sophia took the tablet, her fingers accidentally brushing Ethan's. The brief contact sent an unexpected jolt through her, and she quickly pulled her hand back, hoping neither man noticed her reaction. I'll review this and get back to you with solutions, Sophia said, her voice steadier than she felt. Good, Ethan said, but his green eyes lingered on her face. Sophia. The use of her first name caught her off guard. Yes, I know this is a lot of pressure, especially for someone new to the team, but I hired you because I believe in your abilities. Don't let doubt cloud your judgment. Sophia felt her cheeks warm at the unexpected encouragement. Thank you. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Ethan said, and for a moment, the professional mask slipped, revealing something warmer underneath. Lucas cleared his throat. Should we get started? Yes, Ethan said. The moment broken. Keep me updated every 4 hours. And, Lucas, make sure Miss Martinez gets whatever resources she needs. Will do. Boss. As they headed for the door, Ethan called out. She turned back, heart hammering. Yes? Try not to drink yourself to death on coffee. You're no good to anyone if you're vibrating out of your skin. Despite the stress, Sophia found herself smiling. I'll try to limit myself to a reasonable amount of caffeine. Good, Ethan said, and Sophia could have sworn she saw the ghost of a smile on his lips. Back at her desk, Sophia dove into the user session recording, with Lucas looking over her shoulder. Watching the Horizon CEO navigate through their interface was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Oh no, Sophia whispered as the CEO clicked the wrong button for the 3rd time. Yeah, that's not good. Lucas agreed. She's trying to access the dashboard, but our navigation is sending her to the settings menu. The whole flow is backwards. Sophia realized, her designer brain suddenly clicking into gear. We're thinking like developers, not users. Look, she's trying to complete tasks in the order that makes sense to her, but we've organized everything by technical function. Lucas nodded slowly. So, we need to reorganize the entire interface around user goals, not system architecture. Exactly. Sophia felt the first spark of genuine excitement she'd had all morning. But that means rebuilding basically everything. In 48 hours, Lucas added grimly. In 48 hours, Sophia looked at the clock. 11:30 a.m. Then she looked at Lucas, who was already rolling up his sleeves. You thinking what I'm thinking? Lucas asked. Pizza, energy drinks, and no sleep until Wednesday. Sophia said, I was thinking more like Chinese food. But yeah, same general idea. Let's do this, Sophia said, pulling up a fresh design file. Time to save the Horizon project. What followed was the most intense 36 hours of Sophia's professional life. She and Lucas barely left the office. surviving on takeout and determination. The cleaning crew found them passed out at their desks Tuesday morning, surrounded by empty coffee cups and crumpled design printouts. By Tuesday evening, they had a completely reimagined interface that flowed like a story rather than a technical manual. Sophia's eyes were bloodshot, and her hair was held up with 2 pencils, but as she clicked through the new user flow, she felt a surge of pride. "This is it," she whispered to Lucas, who was debugging the last few functions. "This is what was missing." "It's beautiful," Lucas agreed, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Intuitive, clean, elegant. The Horizon CEO is going to love it." Sophia glanced at the clock. 8:47 p.m. The presentation was scheduled for 9 a.m. "Tomorrow, one more run-through?" she asked. "One more run-through," Lucas confirmed. As they clicked through the interface for the 20th time, Sophia became aware of a presence behind them. She turned to find Ethan standing there. His tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. "How long have you been standing there?" Sophia asked. "Long enough to see what you've built," Ethan said, his voice quiet with something that might have been awe. "Sophia, this is incredible." "Really?" Sophia felt her heart leap. "Really?" Ethan stepped closer, his eyes on the screen. "May I?" Sophia nodded, scooting her chair aside so Ethan could take the mouse. She was acutely aware of his proximity, the way his cologne mixed with the faint scent of coffee and late-night work. Ethan clicked through the interface with the focused intensity Sophia had come to recognize as his CEO mode. But, as he navigated the redesigned flow, she watched his expression shift from professional evaluation to genuine surprise. "You completely restructured the user journey," he said, glancing at her. "This isn't just a design change. You reconceptualized the entire product philosophy." "The original design was thinking like engineers," Sophia explained, her exhaustion making her bolder than usual. "But users don't think like engineers. They think like humans." Ethan turned to look at her fully, and Sophia suddenly became aware of how close they were sitting. She could see the flecks of darker green in his eyes, the way his hair fell slightly over his forehead. "This is exactly what Horizon Enterprises needs," Ethan said softly. "Sophia, you might have just saved the company's biggest contract." "We saved it," Sophia corrected, gesturing to Lucas. "I couldn't have done the technical implementation without." She turned to find Lucas's chair empty and a note on the desk. "Gone home to sleep. You two can handle the final review." "Great work, team." Sophia felt her cheeks burn. "When did he leave?" "About 5 minutes ago," Ethan said, and Sophia caught something in his tone that made her pulse quicken. "I think he wanted to give us space to go over the final details." "Final details," Sophia repeated, suddenly very aware that they were alone in the office. "Final details," Ethan confirmed, but he made no move to step away from her desk. For a moment, they just looked at each other, the weight of 3 weeks of professional tension and carefully ignored attraction hanging between them. "Sophia," Ethan said quietly, "I need to tell you something." "Yes?" "What you've accomplished here, it's not just good work, it's inspired work. You've exceeded every expectation I had." Sophia felt her heart hammering against her ribs. "Thank you." "And Ethan paused, seeming to wrestle with something. "I need you to know that this has nothing to do with your performance review." "What has nothing to do with your performance review?" Instead of answering, Ethan reached out and gently tucked a strand of Sophia's hair behind her ear. The gesture was so tender, so unexpected, that Sophia felt her breath catch. "You have a pencil in your hair," Ethan said softly, his fingers still near her cheek. "2 pencils, actually," Sophia whispered. "2 pencils," Ethan repeated, and Sophia could have sworn his voice was rougher than usual. They were definitely going to kiss. Sophia could feel it in the way Ethan's eyes dropped to her lips, in the way the air between them seemed to thicken. And then Ethan's phone rang. They sprang apart like teenagers caught by their parents, Ethan fumbling for his phone while Sophia tried to remember how to breathe. "Thornton," Ethan answered, his voice carefully controlled. Sophia couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Ethan's expression shift back to professional mode. "Yes, I'll be there in 20 minutes, Ethan said. "No. Reschedule the morning meeting. We'll need to present to Horizon at 10 instead of 9. He hung up and turned back to Sophia. But the moment was broken. "Board meeting," Ethan said, straightening his tie. "I need to brief them on the Horizon situation before tomorrow's presentation." "Of course," Sophia said, trying to ignore the disappointment in her chest. Ethan gathered his jacket but paused at the door. "Sophia." "Yes?" "Get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a big day." "I will," Sophia promised. "And Sophia." "Yes?" "Thank you for everything." After Ethan left, Sophia sat alone in the quiet office, staring at the interface they'd built together. Her reflection looked back at her from the black screen, and she could still feel the ghost of Ethan's touch on her cheek. Tomorrow's presentation would make or break the Horizon project. But, as Sophia finally packed up her things and headed home, she couldn't shake the feeling that something much more important than a business contract was hanging in the balance. The question was, what were they going to do about it? Pinnacle Solutions. Wednesday morning, Sophia stood in the ladies' room mirror at 8:30 a.m., trying to make herself look like someone who hadn't spent the last 48 hours living on coffee and determination. The concealer was doing its best to hide the dark circles under her eyes, but there was only so much makeup could accomplish. "You can do this," she whispered to her reflection, adjusting her navy blazer for the 100th time. "It's just a presentation to the CEO of Horizon Enterprises and the entire Pinnacle Solutions Board of Directors and your boss who you almost kissed 12 hours ago." Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "Presentation looks perfect on the main screen. You're going to kill it. Try not to actually die of nerves first. Your favorite developer." Sophia smiled despite her anxiety. Lucas had arrived at 7 a.m. to make sure all the technical elements were flawless. Bless his caffeinated soul. Another text popped up, this one from her sister Isabella back in LA. "Mom made me promise to tell you she's lighting a candle for your big presentation. Also, she wants to know if your boss is single. I told her to focus on the career thing first. Good luck, sis." Sophia laughed, feeling some of the tension ease from her shoulders. Her family might be 3,000 miles away, but they were definitely with her in spirit. She checked her watch. 8:45 a.m. The presentation was scheduled for 10 a.m., which gave her just enough time to do one final run-through, and maybe consume one more strategically timed cup of coffee. Sophia gathered her courage and headed for the elevator. Riding up to the executive conference room on the 47th floor, the morning Manhattan skyline stretched out beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, and for a moment, she allowed herself to feel proud of how far she'd come. The conference room was already bustling with activity. Lucas was at the main console, running through the presentation slides with the focused intensity of a NASA mission control specialist. Chloe was arranging materials at each seat, her usual cheerful efficiency tinged with the nervous energy that preceded big meetings. And Ethan was standing at the head of the table, reviewing notes with the kind of concentrated focus that made Sophia's heart do complicated things. He looked up as she entered, and, for just a moment, Sophia saw something warm and encouraging in his green eyes, before his professional mask slipped back into place. "Good morning, Sophia," he said, his voice carefully neutral in front of the staff. "Ready for this?" "As ready as I'll ever be," Sophia replied, setting her laptop down at the presentation station. "Mr. Thornton," Chloe interrupted. "The Horizon Enterprises team just arrived. They're in the lobby with security." Ethan nodded. "Bring them up. And Chloe, make sure we have the good coffee service ready." "Already arranged, sir." Sophia felt her stomach flutter as the reality of the situation hit her. In 15 minutes, she would be presenting to Elizabeth Wang, the notoriously demanding CEO of Horizon Enterprises, along with her entire executive team. The contract was worth $12 million annually. And, if Sophia's redesign didn't impress them, Pinnacle Solutions would lose their biggest client. "Hey." Lucas appeared at her elbow, his voice low. "You look like you're about to throw up." "I might," Sophia admitted. "What if they hate it? What if the interface doesn't work properly? What if I freeze up and forget how to speak English? Then I'll pretend to have a medical emergency to distract everyone while you escape through the emergency exit," Lucas said solemnly. Sophia snorted with laughter. "That's your plan?" "It's a solid plan," Lucas insisted. "Very dramatic, very memorable. They'll probably give us the contract out of sympathy." "You're ridiculous," Sophia said, but she was smiling. "Ridiculously supportive," Lucas corrected, "and ridiculously confident that you're about to blow their minds." Before Sophia could respond, the conference room doors opened, and Elizabeth Wang entered with her entourage. Sophia had seen photos of the Horizon Enterprises CEO, but in person, Elizabeth was even more formidable. A petite woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an aura of absolute authority. "Ms. Wang," Ethan stepped forward, his CEO charm at full power. "Welcome to Pinnacle Solutions. Thank you for making time for this presentation." "Mr. Thornton," Elizabeth replied, her handshake firm and brief. "I hope you have solutions for me. My team is not impressed with the current user experience. I think you'll find we've made significant improvements," Ethan said smoothly. "Let me introduce Sofia Martinez, our lead UX designer, and Lucas Rivera, our lead developer." They've been working around the clock to address your concerns. Elizabeth's gaze shifted to Sophia, and Sophia felt like she was being evaluated by a particularly intelligent hawk. Ms. Martinez, I understand you've completely redesigned our interface. Yes, ma'am, Sophia said, proud that her voice came out steady. Based on your feedback, we identified several key areas where the user flow could be more intuitive. Show me, Elizabeth said. Taking a seat at the conference table, Sophia glanced at Ethan, who gave her an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. She took a deep breath and clicked to the first slide. The primary issue with the original design was that it was organized around technical functions rather than user goals. Sophia began, her confidence growing as she moved into familiar territory. When you tried to access your dashboard, the system was expecting you to navigate through settings and preferences first. Elizabeth leaned forward slightly. Go on. So, we completely restructured the information architecture, Sophia continued, clicking to a comparison slide. Instead of thinking like engineers, we designed the flow around how CEOs actually work. Sophia walked them through the new interface, explaining each decision and demonstrating the improved user flow. She could see Elizabeth's expression shift from skeptical to intrigued as the presentation progressed. The key insight, Sophia said, pulling up the final demonstration, was that executive users don't want to configure software. They want to accomplish goals. So, we made the interface predictive rather than reactive. Elizabeth stood up and moved closer to the screen. May I try it myself? Of course, Sophia said, handing her the tablet. The room fell silent as Elizabeth navigated through the interface. Sophia watched every click, every swipe, every micro-expression on the CEO's face. Out of the corner of her eye, she could see Ethan watching too, his jaw tight with concentration. After what felt like an eternity, Elizabeth looked up. This is exactly what I was looking for. Sophia felt her knees go weak with relief. Really? Really, Elizabeth confirmed, a smile breaking across her previously stern features. The flow is intuitive. The design is clean, and, most importantly, it thinks like I think. She turned to Ethan. Mr. Thornton, I'm impressed. This is a significant improvement over the original design. Sophia deserves all the credit, Ethan said, and Sophia felt her heart skip at the pride in his voice. She reconceptualized the entire product philosophy. Well, Miss Martinez, Elizabeth said, extending her hand, you've earned Horizon Enterprises' continued partnership. We'll be signing the contract extension this afternoon. The room erupted in quiet congratulations and relieved laughter. Sophia shook Elizabeth's hand, still hardly believing it was real. There is one thing, Elizabeth added, and Sophia's stomach clenched. We'd like to implement this new interface across all our subsidiary companies. Would Pinnacle be interested in expanding the contract? Ethan's eyes widened. How much of an expansion are we talking about? Triple the current value, Elizabeth said casually. $36 million annually. Sophia felt the room spin slightly. $36 million. She just helped land a $36 million contract. We'd be very interested, Ethan said, and Sophia had never seen him look so genuinely pleased. After the Horizon Enterprises team left, the conference room buzzed with celebratory energy. Board members shook Sophia's hand. Lucas was practically bouncing with excitement, and Chloe was already on the phone arranging a company-wide celebration. Sophia, Ethan said, approaching her as the crowd began to thin. Could I speak with you privately? Sophia's heart rate spiked. Of course. Ethan led her to his office, closing the door behind them. The sudden quiet felt intimate after the chaos of the morning. I need to thank you, Ethan said, turning to face her. What you accomplished today, it's extraordinary. I was just doing my job, Sophia said, though she felt her cheeks warm at the praise. No, Ethan said firmly. You went far beyond your job. You saved this company's most important relationship and potentially secured our future for the next 5 years. Sophia looked down at her hands, suddenly shy. I couldn't have done it without Lucas or without you believing in me. Sophia, Ethan said softly, and she looked up to find him closer than she'd expected. I need you to know something. What? What happened last night? That wasn't professional. Sophia's pulse quickened. No, it wasn't, and I can't promise it won't happen again. Sophia swallowed hard. I can't promise that either. Ethan reached out and gently cupped her face, his thumb brushing across her cheek. You have no idea how proud I am of you right now, Sophia whispered, her professional resolve crumbling. I know we said professional boundaries, Ethan said, his voice rough. I know there are policies and complications and 100 reasons why this is a bad idea, but, Sophia prompted, her heart hammering. But I can't stop thinking about you, Ethan admitted. I can't stop thinking about last night, about the way you look, when you're focused on a problem, about how brilliant you are. Sophia felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down at either the best or worst decision of her life. Ethan. I'm not asking you to make any decisions right now, Ethan interrupted. I just need you to know that this, whatever this is, it's not going away. Before Sophia could respond, Ethan leaned down and kissed her. It was nothing like the almost kiss from the night before. This was deliberate, confident, and absolutely devastating. Sophia's hands found their way to Ethan's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her palms. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sophia felt like her entire world had shifted. That was definitely not professional, Sophia said, her voice shaky. Definitely not, Ethan agreed, his forehead resting against hers. We should probably talk about this, Sophia said. We should, Ethan confirmed, but not here. Not in the office. Are you asking me out, Mr. Thornton? Ethan's smile was soft and genuine. I'm asking you to have dinner with me, Sophia, somewhere we can talk without worrying about board meetings and project deadlines. Sophia looked into his green eyes and saw something she'd never expected to find in her intimidating CEO. Vulnerability. Hope. Something that looked remarkably like love. Okay, she said softly. Okay, I'll have dinner with you. Sophia smiled. But I have one condition. What's that? We don't talk about work at all. Ethan laughed, and Sophia realized it was the first time she'd heard him laugh without any reservation. Deal. Though I have to warn you, I'm not that interesting when I'm not being a CEO. I find that hard to believe, Sophia said. We'll see, Ethan said, stepping back reluctantly. There's a little Italian place in the village that makes the best carbonara in the city. Are you free tonight? I think I can pencil you in, Sophia said, trying to sound casual despite the fact that her heart was doing gymnastics. Good, Ethan said, his hand finding hers. Because I have a feeling this is going to be much more interesting than any board meeting. As Sophia headed back to her desk, she felt like she was walking on air. She'd landed the biggest contract in company history, proven herself as a designer, and somehow managed to capture the attention of the most fascinating man she'd ever met. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Saw the boss walk you to his office. Please tell me you're not getting fired after your moment of triumph. Sophia typed back, definitely not getting fired. We'll explain later. But, Lucas, I think I'm in trouble. Good trouble or bad trouble? Sophia looked toward Ethan's office, where she could see him on the phone, probably already planning the expansion project. When he caught her looking, he smiled and gave her a small wave. The best kind of trouble, Sophia typed back. As she settled back into her work, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that today had changed everything. The Horizon project was just the beginning. She had no idea what came next. But, for the first time in her life, she couldn't wait to find out. The afternoon flew by in a blur of congratulations, contract negotiations, and celebration planning. Sophia found herself stealing glances at Ethan throughout the day, catching him looking back more often than not. Each shared look sent electricity through her veins. At 5:30 p.m., as the office began to empty, Sophia's phone chimed with a text from Ethan. Pick you up at 7. I promise I won't be late this time. Sophia smiled, typing back. I'll be ready. And, Ethan, thank you for everything. Thank you for being extraordinary. See you tonight. As Sophia packed up her things, she reflected on how much had changed in just 4 weeks. She'd gone from calling Ethan a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk to falling for him completely. She'd proven herself professionally, found her place in New York, and somehow landed the most incredible opportunity of her career. But, more importantly, she'd found something she hadn't even known she was looking for. Someone who saw her potential and believed in her dreams. Tonight would be their first real date, away from the pressures of the office and the complications of their professional relationship. Sophia had no idea what the future held, but she was finally ready to find out. After all, the best adventures always began with a little turbulence. Greenwich Village, Wednesday evening. Sophia stood in front of her tiny closet, wearing only a towel and a look of complete panic. Every outfit she owned was either too casual, too formal, too work-appropriate, or too, I'm trying way too hard to impress my billionaire boss. This is ridiculous, she muttered, pulling out a black dress for the 4th time. It's just dinner with Ethan, who kissed me in his office after I landed a $36 million contract. Her phone rang, and Isabella's face filled the screen via FaceTime. Please tell me you're calling with outfit advice and not to cancel, Isabella said without preamble. Because I've been refreshing my phone all day, waiting for updates about your presentation and your mysterious hot boss. The presentation went amazing, Sophia said, propping the phone against her mirror. We got the contract. Actually, We got 3 times the original contract. That's incredible. I'm so proud of you. Isabella squealed. And the boss situation? Sophia felt her cheeks heat up. He kissed me and asked me to dinner tonight in about an hour. Isabella's eyes went wide. Sofia Elena Martinez, you buried the lead. He kissed you? How was it? Was it amazing? Are you freaking out? Of course you're freaking out. Look at your face. I'm not freaking out, Sophia lied, holding up the black dress. I'm just processing. What about this one? Tu funereal. Isabella said immediately. What about that blue wrap dress you bought for cousin Sophia's wedding? The one that makes your boobs look fantastic. Sophia rifled through her closet. I don't know if I want to go full boob display on the first date. It's not a first date. It's a we've been dancing around each other for a month and finally admitted our feelings date. Isabella corrected. There's a difference. Trust me. Wear the blue dress. Sophia found the dress and held it up. It was a deep sapphire blue that brought out her eyes, with a flattering wrap style that was sexy without being obvious. You're right, Sophia admitted. This is perfect. I'm always right about fashion, Isabella said smugly. Now tell me everything about this kiss while you get ready. Sophia slipped into the dress, trying to find words for what had happened in Ethan's office. It was intense. Like, I literally forgot how to breathe for a minute. Good intense or scary intense? Good intense, Sophia said, applying mascara with shaky hands. Really, really good intense. Isabella, I think I'm falling for him. Hard. Honey, from what you've told me about the past month, you already fell. You're just finally admitting it. Sophia paused, mascara wand halfway to her lashes. Is it crazy? I mean, he's my boss. He's probably worth more money than I'll see in my lifetime. We come from completely different worlds. Sophia. Isabella's voice was gentle. Remember when you were 8 and you wanted to enter that art contest but convinced yourself you weren't good enough? Yeah, but, and remember what happened when Mom finally made you submit your drawing anyway? Sophia smiled despite her nerves. I won first place. You won first place, Isabella confirmed, because you're talented and brave and amazing, even when you can't see it yourself. This guy would be lucky to have you. When did my little sister become so wise? I learned from the best. Isabella grinned. Now finish getting ready and go knock his socks off, but not literally, because that would be weird. Sophia laughed, feeling some of her nervousness dissolve. I love you, Isa. Love you too. And, Sophia, text me when you get home. I want details. Some details. Sophia corrected. Fine. Some details. The good ones. After hanging up, Sophia finished her makeup and slipped on her favorite heels, the ones that made her feel confident and powerful. She was checking her reflection one last time when her apartment buzzer rang. Her heart jumped into her throat. Ethan was here. Sophia grabbed her purse and jacket, took a deep breath, and headed downstairs. Ethan was waiting on the sidewalk next to a sleek black car, but he wasn't wearing his usual CEO uniform. Instead, he had on dark jeans, a navy button-down with the sleeves rolled up, and a leather jacket that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. His hair was slightly less perfect than usual, and Sophia realized this was the most casual she'd ever seen him. Wow, Ethan said when he saw her, his eyes traveling appreciatively over her dress. You look absolutely stunning. Thank you, Sophia said, feeling her cheeks warm. You clean up pretty well yourself. Ethan opened the car door for her, and Sophia caught a whiff of his cologne as she slipped past him. I should probably mention that this isn't my car, Ethan said as they settled into the back seat. I don't actually drive in the city. Smart. Sophia said, I sold my car the day I moved here. Public transportation and the occasional Uber are much more practical. Exactly, Ethan agreed, then gave the driver an address in Greenwich Village. As they drove through the bustling Manhattan streets, Sophia felt some of her nervousness return. This was surreal, sitting in the back of a hired car with Ethan Thornton, heading to dinner like a normal couple. Except they weren't normal. And they definitely weren't a couple yet. Penny for your thoughts, Ethan asked. Sophia turned to find him watching her with those impossibly green eyes. Just processing, I guess. This morning, I was terrified I was going to lose my job. And now you're having dinner with your boss after landing the biggest contract in company history. Ethan finished. I can see how that might be a lot to process. Are you processing too? Sophia asked. Ethan was quiet for a moment. I'm trying not to overthink it, he admitted. I have a tendency to analyze everything to death, especially when it's important. And this is important. Ethan met her Metterhaze. This is very important. The restaurant Ethan had chosen was a small, intimate Italian place, tucked away on a quiet village street. It was the kind of place that looked unassuming from the outside, but felt warm and magical inside, with exposed brick walls, dim lighting, and the kind of atmosphere that made you want to linger over every course. Mr. Thornton, the host greeted them with genuine warmth. Your usual table, please, Antonio, Ethan replied. And this is Sofia Martinez. Welcome, Miss Martinez, Antonio said with a slight Italian accent. Any friend of Ethan's is family here. As they were led to a corner table for two, Sofia noticed several other diners glancing their way with recognition. Ethan Thornton was clearly well known, but he seemed completely comfortable with the attention. You come here often? Sofia asked as they settled into their seats. At least once a week, Ethan admitted. It's my escape from the corporate world. The food is incredible, the atmosphere is relaxed, and Antonio treats everyone like family. Sofia looked around at the cozy dining room, noting the photographs of Italy on the walls and the obvious care that had gone into every detail. It's perfect, very different from what I expected. What did you expect? Something more, I don't know, fancy corporate. The kind of place where you need 3 forks and have to whisper. Ethan laughed, and Sofia loved the sound of it. I save those places for business dinners. This is for when I actually want to enjoy myself. A server approached with menus and a wine list. But Ethan waved them away. Trust me? He asked Sofia. With dinner? Absolutely. Ethan ordered for both of them in what sounded like fluent Italian, and Sofia raised an eyebrow. Should I be impressed? My grandmother was Italian, Ethan explained. She insisted I learn the language, and, more importantly, she taught me to appreciate good food. She would have loved this place. Sofia heard the past tense and felt something tighten in her chest. Was she where you close? Very close, Ethan said, his expression softening. She raised me when my parents were working multiple jobs. She's the one who taught me that success isn't about money. It's about building something that matters and treating people with respect. She sounds wonderful. She was, Ethan agreed. She died my senior year of college. Cancer. I'm sorry, Sofia said softly. Thank you. She would have liked you, I think. She always said I needed someone who would challenge me and keep me honest. Is that what I do? Ethan's eyes met hers across the table. From the moment you called me a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk in the airport, you've been keeping me honest. Sofia felt her cheeks flush. I still can't believe I said that to you. It was one of the most refreshing conversations I'd had in years, Ethan admitted. Do you know how long it's been since someone spoke to me like I was just a regular person instead of a CEO? Probably not, since before you became a CEO. Exactly. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Sofia, I need you to understand something. When I'm with you, I don't feel like Ethan Thornton, CEO of Pinnacle Solutions. I feel like just Ethan. Sofia's heart did a little flip. Just Ethan, huh? And what is just Ethan like? Well, Ethan said, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Just Ethan grew up in Queens, learned to cook from his Italian grandmother, has a secret addiction to terrible reality TV shows, and once got arrested for spray painting a mural on an abandoned building. Sofia nearly choked on her water. You got arrested for graffiti? I was 16 and thought I was being artistic, Ethan said, laughing at her expression. The charges were dropped, but my mother made me do community service anyway. That's not what I expected to learn about you tonight. What did you expect? Sofia considered the question. I guess I expected you to be perfect, rich, successful, completely put together. No flaws. No embarrassing stories. No normal human moments. Sorry to disappoint you, Ethan said dryly. You're not disappointing me, Sofia said quickly. You're surprising me in the best way. Their appetizers arrived. Fresh mozzarella with tomatoes and basil and some kind of seafood carpaccio that looked like art on a plate. Sofia took a bite and practically moaned with pleasure. This is incredible, she said. I think I need to know Antonio's life story. He'll tell it to you if you ask, Ethan said. He came here from Naples 30 years ago, with nothing but a suitcase and his grandmother's recipes. Sounds familiar, Sofia said, thinking of her own journey from California. Tell me about your family, Ethan said. I know you grew up in California, but that's about it. Sofia felt a warmth spread through her chest. My parents are amazing. Dad's a high school teacher, Mom's a nurse. They've been married 28 years and still act like newlyweds. It's disgusting and adorable. And my sister, Isabella, is the baby. But she's definitely the wise one in the family. She's finishing her master's in psychology and already has me completely figured out. Sofia paused. Actually, she was the one who convinced me to move to New York. Really? She said I was too comfortable in LA, that I needed to challenge myself. She was right, obviously. But I spent the first week here crying in my tiny apartment and eating way too much takeout Chinese food. Ethan's expression grew serious. What made you stay? Sofia thought about it. I realized that being scared meant I was doing something important, and I'd rather fail at something that mattered than succeed at something safe. That's exactly how I felt when I started Pinnacle, Ethan said quietly. Everyone told me I was crazy to leave my job at Goldman Sachs to start a tech company. But you did it anyway. I did it anyway, Ethan confirmed. Best decision I ever made. Their main courses arrived. Perfect carbonara for Ethan, and an incredible seafood risotto for Sophia. The conversation flowed as easily as the wine, covering everything from their shared love of terrible horror movies to their completely opposite opinions on whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Absolutely not, Sophia said firmly, gesturing with her fork. Pineapple on pizza is an abomination. It's sweet and savory, Ethan argued. The contrast is perfect. The contrast is wrong. Sophia shot back. Pizza is supposed to be savory. Fruit belongs in dessert. What about tomatoes? Those are technically fruit. Sophia paused mid-bite. That's a valid point. But I'm choosing to ignore it. Ethan laughed so hard he nearly choked on his wine. You're ridiculous. I'm passionate about food integrity, Sophia corrected, but she was laughing, too. Food integrity, Ethan repeated. I'll remember that. As they shared tiramisu for dessert, Sophia found herself relaxing completely for the first time in weeks. This wasn't the intimidating CEO from the airport or the boardroom. This was Ethan, who told terrible jokes and had strong opinions about reality television, and looked at her like she was the most fascinating person in the world. Can I ask you something? Sophia said as Ethan paid the check despite her protests. Anything. Why me? I mean, you could probably date anyone in the city. Models, actresses, other CEOs. Why the girl who insulted you in the airport? Ethan was quiet for a long moment, and Sophia wondered if she'd overstepped. But when he looked at her, his expression was soft and serious. Because when you insulted me in the airport, you saw me, he said finally. Not my suit, or my title, or my bank account. You saw someone acting like a jerk and called him on it. And when you apologized later, it wasn't because you found out who I was. It was because you're a good person who takes responsibility for her actions. Sophia felt her throat tighten with emotion. Ethan. And because, Ethan continued, reaching across the table to take her hand, you're brilliant and creative and passionate about everything you do. You make me want to be better than I am. Sophia stared down at their joined hands, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his voice. You don't need to be better than you are. Maybe not better, Ethan amended, but more myself. You make me feel like myself. They walked slowly back to Sophia's apartment, their hands linked, their conversation ranging from work to family to dreams for the future. The October air was crisp but not cold, and the village streets were alive with the energy of a Wednesday night in the city. This is me, Sophia said. As they stopped in front of her building, she felt suddenly nervous again, unsure of the protocol for ending a date with your boss, who you'd kissed earlier that day. Sophia, Ethan said, turning to face her, I know this is complicated. I know there are about 100 reasons why this could be a terrible idea. But, Sophia prompted, but I haven't felt this way about anyone in, maybe, ever, Ethan admitted. And I don't want to pretend that what's happening between us isn't real just because it's inconvenient. Sophia looked up at him, taking in the way the streetlight caught the green of his eyes, the way his hair had gotten mussed from their walk, the way he was looking at her like she held all the answers to questions he'd been asking his whole life. So, what do we do? Sophia asked. We figure it out as we go, Ethan said, stepping closer. We're smart people. We can navigate this. The company policy says that workplace relationships need to be disclosed to HR. Ethan interrupted gently. It doesn't forbid them. Sophia felt her pulse quicken. Are you saying we should disclose this to HR? I'm saying, Ethan said, cupping her face with his free hand, that I want to find out what this is. If you do, too. Instead of answering with words, Sophia stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. This kiss was different from the one in his office. Softer, slower, full of promise, rather than desperation. When they broke apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. I'll take that as a yes. That's a yes, Sophia confirmed breathlessly. Good, Ethan said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead, because I have a confession to make. What? I've been wanting to do this since the moment you told me off in the airport. Sophia laughed, feeling light and happy and terrified all at once. That's terrible timing. The worst, Ethan agreed, but worth the wait. What happens now? Sophia asked. Now? Ethan said, stepping back reluctantly. I go home and try not to think about how beautiful you look in this dress. And tomorrow we go back to work and pretend we're capable of being professional. Are we capable of being professional? Ethan's smile was wicked. I guess we'll find out. As Sophia watched Ethan's car disappear into the Manhattan traffic, she felt like she was floating. Everything about tonight had been perfect. The restaurant, the conversation, the way Ethan had looked at her like she was something precious and rare. Her phone buzzed with a text as she climbed the stairs to her apartment. "Thank you for tonight. Sweet dreams, Sophia." Sophia smiled, typing back, "Thank you for perfect carbonara and terrible pineapple pizza opinions. Can't wait to argue about food with you again soon." It's a date. Literally. As Sophia got ready for bed, she caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the glowing, happy woman staring back at her. 4 weeks ago, she'd been a struggling designer in LA with big dreams and no clear path forward. Now she was living in New York, working at her dream company, and falling in love with the most complicated, fascinating man she'd ever met. It was messy and uncertain and probably crazy. But, for the first time in her life, Sophia was exactly where she wanted to be. Her phone buzzed one more time. P.S. I'm not changing my position on pineapple pizza. Some things are worth fighting for. Sophia laughed out loud, typing back, "Game on, Thornton, game on." As she drifted off to sleep, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that her real adventure was just beginning. They'd navigated the turbulence of their first meeting, weathered the storm of professional challenges, and found smooth sailing in each other's company. Now came the real test, figuring out how to be together without losing everything they'd worked for. But, as Sophia remembered the way Ethan had looked at her across the dinner table, the way he'd kissed her under the streetlight, the way he'd made her feel like the most important person in his world, she thought they just might be able to pull it off. After all, the best love stories always began with a little chaos. Pinnacle Solutions. 2 months later, Sophia stood in the elevator on Thursday morning, trying to maintain her professional composure while internally celebrating the fact that she was about to see Ethan for the first time since their weekend trip to his family's lake house in the Hamptons. 2 months of secretly dating her boss had taught her many things. How to keep a poker face during board meetings, how to communicate through meaningful glances across conference rooms, and, most importantly, how to fall completely and utterly in love while maintaining plausible deniability. The elevator dinged at the 45th floor, and Sophia stepped out into the familiar bustle of the executive level. She'd been promoted to senior UX director after the Horizon project's success, which came with a corner office, a substantial raise, and the delicious irony that she now worked just 3 doors down from Ethan. "Good morning, Sophia." Chloe greeted her with a knowing smile. Over the past 2 months, Ethan's assistant had become an invaluable ally in their complicated romantic logistics. "Mr. Thornton asked me to remind you about the 10 a.m. strategy meeting." "Of course," Sophia replied professionally, though her heart did a little skip at the mention of Ethan's name. "Is the Horizon expansion team ready for the presentation?" "Ready and caffeinated," Chloe confirmed. "Lucas has been here since 7 running final tests on the interface." Sophia made her way to her office, waving at Lucas through the glass walls of the development lab. He looked up from his computer and gave her a thumbs up, followed by an exaggerated wink that made her laugh despite herself. Lucas had figured out her relationship with Ethan about 3 weeks into their secret romance, mainly because Sophia had started humming while coding and wearing dresses that actually fit properly. As she settled at her desk, Sophia's phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "Good morning, beautiful. Looking forward to watching you charm the Horizon team in about an hour. Try not to be too brilliant. It's distracting." Sophia smiled, typing back, "I'll try to contain my overwhelming competence. Also, your tie is crooked. I can see you from my office." She looked up to see Ethan through his office window, adjusting his tie with a sheepish grin. He caught her watching and blew her a subtle kiss, which made Sophia's stomach do the same butterfly dance it had been doing for 2 months. Their relationship had evolved into something beautiful and complicated and absolutely terrifying. They'd established rules. No obvious PDA at work, no letting personal feelings interfere with professional decisions, and absolutely no discussing their relationship in front of other employees. They'd mostly succeeded, though there had been a few close calls, like the time Ethan had almost called her sweetheart during a board meeting, or when Sophia had to physically restrain herself from kissing him after he'd defended her design choices to a particularly difficult client. The 10 a.m. meeting was in the main conference room, and Sophia arrived to find the Horizon Enterprises team already assembled. Elizabeth Wang looked as formidable as ever, but she smiled warmly when she saw Sophia. "Ms. Martinez," Elizabeth said, standing to shake Sophia's hand. "I have to say, the preliminary results from our beta testing are extraordinary. Our user engagement is up 40% since implementing your interface design." "That's wonderful to hear," Sophia replied, feeling a surge of professional pride. I'm excited to show you what we've developed for the subsidiary rollout. Ethan entered the room with his usual commanding presence, wearing the navy suit that Sophia had helped him pick out the previous weekend. Their eyes met briefly, and Sophia saw the same mixture of professional respect and personal affection that had become their secret language. "Good morning, everyone," Ethan said, taking his seat at the head of the table. "I believe Miss Martinez has some exciting developments to share." Sophia stood and moved to the presentation screen, clicking to her first slide. "Over the past 8 weeks, we've been working on scaling the Horizon interface across all subsidiary companies. The challenge was maintaining the intuitive user experience while accommodating the unique needs of each business sector." She walked them through the presentation, explaining how they'd created a modular design system that could adapt to everything from healthcare management to retail logistics. The Horizon team asked thoughtful questions, and Sophia found herself in her element, passionate and confident, as she explained the technical innovations her team had achieved. "The beauty of this system," Sophia concluded, "is that it grows with your business. As Horizon Enterprises expands, the interface can accommodate new sectors and functionalities without requiring a complete redesign." Elizabeth was taking notes throughout the presentation, nodding appreciatively. "This is exactly what we needed. The scalability alone will save us millions in future development costs. We are prepared to begin implementation immediately," Ethan added. "Our timeline shows full deployment across all Horizon subsidiaries within 6 months." "Excellent," Elizabeth said. "There is one additional matter I'd like to discuss. If you have time." Sophia and Ethan exchanged a glance. Elizabeth's tone suggested something bigger than a simple contract adjustment. "Of course," Ethan said. "Horizon Enterprises is opening a new West Coast headquarters in San Francisco," Elizabeth explained. "We'd like Pinnacle Solutions to design and implement all of our technology infrastructure for the new facility." Sophia felt her heart skip. A West Coast headquarters project would be massive, easily worth $50 million, and requiring months of on-site work. That's a significant project," Ethan said carefully. "What kind of timeline are we looking at?" "We'd need someone to relocate to San Francisco for at least 6 months, possibly longer," Elizabeth said. "Full oversight of the implementation process, liaison with our West Coast team, and ongoing support as we scale up operations." Sophia's stomach dropped. A 6-month relocation to San Francisco would mean leaving New York, leaving Ethan, putting their relationship on hold just when things were getting serious. "It would have to be someone senior," Elizabeth continued. "Someone who understands our systems intimately and can make decisions autonomously." She turned to Sophia. "Miss Martinez, would you be interested in leading this project?" Sophia felt the room spinning slightly. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to lead a massive project, prove herself on a national scale, and probably earn herself a promotion to VP level. It was everything she'd dreamed of when she'd moved to New York. It was also a nightmare scenario for her relationship with Ethan. That's an incredible opportunity," Sophia managed, her voice steadier than she felt. "Could I have some time to consider it?" "Of course," Elizabeth said. "We'd need an answer within the week, but I understand it's a big decision." The meeting continued for another hour, covering logistics and contract details. But Sophia felt like she was underwater. She caught Ethan watching her with a concerned expression, but they couldn't exactly discuss their personal feelings in front of the Horizon team. After Elizabeth and her team left, Sophia found herself alone in the conference room with Ethan. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken concerns. "That was unexpected," Ethan said finally. "That's one way to put it," Sophia replied, sinking into her chair. Ethan moved closer, his professional demeanor softening. "Sophia, this is huge. Leading the Horizon West Coast project would establish you as one of the top UX designers in the country." "I know," Sophia said quietly. "It's everything I've worked for." "But," Sophia looked up at him, seeing her own confusion reflected in his green eyes, "it would mean leaving for 6 months, maybe longer, and we just figured this out." Ethan sat down beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, but far enough to maintain professional appearances if anyone walked in. "We did just figure this out," he agreed, "and I'd be lying if I said the thought of you being 3,000 miles away doesn't terrify me. So, what do we do?" Ethan was quiet for a long moment, and Sophia could practically see him working through the problem with his CEO brain. "We don't make any decisions right now," he said finally. "We take the week Elizabeth gave us, and we figure out what's best for your career." "What about what's best for us?" Sophia asked. Ethan said gently, "If we're going to work, really work, then we both need to be the best versions of ourselves. That means not letting our relationship hold either of us back from opportunities." Sophia felt tears threatening but blinked them back. "You're right. I know you're right. It's just that falling in love is terrible timing." Ethan finished with a rueful smile. The worst timing. Sophia agreed. Sophia Martinez, you are the most talented designer I've ever worked with, Ethan said, his voice soft but firm. If you want this project, I will support you 100%. And if you don't want it, I'll support that too. And if I want it, but also want you, Ethan's expression grew tender. Then we figure out how to make both things work. Before Sophia could respond, Lucas appeared in the conference room doorway, looking between them with barely concealed curiosity. Sorry to interrupt, Lucas said. But, Sophia, the Horizon beta testing results just came in, and you're going to want to see this. Sophia stood up, grateful for the distraction. Good results or bad results? Record-breaking results. Lucas grinned. User satisfaction is at 96%. 96%. Sophia, that's basically unheard of in enterprise software. Despite her emotional turmoil, Sophia felt a surge of professional pride. Really? Elizabeth wasn't kidding about the engagement numbers. The interface you designed isn't just functional. It's actually making people enjoy using corporate software. Ethan stood up too, his CEO mode fully activated. Lucas, I want those numbers compiled into a full report. This is going to be huge for our reputation in the industry. Already on it, boss, Lucas said. Sophia, you're basically famous in tech circles right now. I've already gotten 3 LinkedIn messages from recruiters who want to poach you. Sophia felt Ethan's eyes on her, but she kept her expression professional. That's very flattering. Flattering and well-deserved, Ethan said. Lucas, can you make sure those reports get to the marketing team? I want to start leveraging this success for new client acquisition. Will do, Lucas said, then hesitated. Sophia, can I talk to you for a minute about the technical specifications for the next phase? Sophia nodded, following Lucas out of the conference room. As soon as they were out of earshot, Lucas grabbed her arm. Okay, what's wrong? He demanded. You just got the best user testing results in company history, and you look like someone canceled Christmas. Sophia glanced around to make sure they weren't being overheard. Elizabeth offered me the Horizon West Coast project. Lead position, 6-month relocation to San Francisco. Lucas's eyes widened. Holy crap, Sophia, that's incredible. That's, like, career-making incredible. I know, but Sophia sighed. It's complicated. Lucas studied her face, and Sophia watched as understanding dawned in his expression. It's Ethan, isn't it? You two are really serious. Sophia didn't bother denying it. Lucas had figured out most of their relationship anyway. We're serious. Really serious. And 6 months apart could kill it, Lucas finished. Yeah, I can see the problem. What would you do? Lucas considered the question seriously. Honestly, I'd probably take the job. Sophia, opportunities like this don't come around often, especially in our industry. You're 26 years old. This could set you up for the rest of your career. But what about love? What about building something real with someone? What about building something real with yourself first? Lucas countered gently. Sophia, you're amazing at what you do. You deserve to see how far you can go. Sophia felt fresh tears threatening. When did life get so complicated? Probably around the time you fell for your billionaire boss, Lucas said with a sympathetic smile. But hey, if anyone can figure out how to have it all, it's you. The rest of the day passed in a blur of congratulations and client calls. Word of the Horizon testing results had spread quickly through the company, and Sophia found herself fielding requests for interviews and speaking engagements. By 6 p.m., she was emotionally and physically exhausted. She was packing up her desk when Ethan appeared in her office doorway. Long day? He asked. The longest, Sophia replied. I feel like I've talked to half the tech industry today. You probably have, Ethan said, closing her office door behind him. Sophia, we need to talk. Sophia's heart clenched. That sounds ominous. Not ominous, Ethan said, approaching her desk. Just important. He sat down across from her, and Sophia could see the internal struggle playing out across his features. I've been thinking about the San Francisco project all day, Ethan said, and I need you to know that whatever you decide, I'm going to support you completely. Ethan, let me finish, he said gently. Sophia, watching you present today, seeing how passionate you are about your work, seeing how talented you are, I realized something. What? I realized that I'm falling in love with your ambition as much as I'm falling in love with you, Ethan said. Your drive, your creativity, your refusal to settle for anything less than excellence. Those are the things that make you who you are. Sophia felt her throat tighten with emotion. What are you saying? I'm saying that if you want this project, you should take it, Ethan said firmly. And if that means we have to figure out how to love each other from 3,000 miles apart, then that's what we'll do. You'd wait for me? Ethan reached across the desk and took her hands. Sophia, I'd wait forever for you, but, more than that, I'd support your dreams, even if they take you away from me. Sophia felt the tears she'd been holding back all day finally spill over. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, Ethan replied, his own voice rough with emotion, which is why I need you to follow your heart, not just mine. They sat in silence for a moment, holding hands across her desk, while Sophia tried to process everything. What if I took the project, but we found ways to make it work? Sophia said finally. Video calls, weekend visits. Maybe you could even come to San Francisco sometimes for business. That's a lot of travel and logistics, Ethan pointed out. Are you sure you want to take that on? Sophia looked at Ethan, really looked at him. She saw the man who had believed in her from day one, who had supported her ambitions, even when they conflicted with his own desires, who loved her enough to let her go, if that's what she needed. I'm sure, Sophia said firmly. Ethan, I want this project. I want to prove that I can handle something this big, this important. But I also want I want to figure out how to build a life together, even if it's complicated. Ethan's smile was radiant. Are you sure? It's going to be hard. The best things usually are, Sophia replied. Besides, we started this whole thing with turbulence. I think we can handle a little long distance. Ethan stood up and walked around her desk, pulling Sophia into his arms. I love you, he said, kissing her forehead. I love you too, Sophia said, standing on her tiptoes to kiss him properly. All of you, the CEO and just Ethan, and everything in between. They were interrupted by a knock on Sophia's office door. They sprang apart just as Chloe poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, Chloe said with a knowing smile. But, Sophia, there's a call for you from TechCrunch. They want to do a feature article about the Horizon interface. Sophia looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. Take the call, he said. Start building your reputation as the brilliant designer you are. 3 days later, Sophia stood in Ethan's office, holding the signed contract for the Horizon West Coast project. Elizabeth had been thrilled when Sophia accepted, and the terms were even better than expected. A substantial salary increase, equity in the project's success, and a guarantee that she could return to New York as Vice President of Innovation when the project concluded. So, it's official, Ethan said, reviewing the contract terms. 6 months in San Francisco, starting next month. 6 months, Sophia confirmed, though her stomach still fluttered with nerves when she said it. I have something for you, Ethan said, opening his desk drawer. He pulled out a small wrapped box, and Sophia's heart stopped. Ethan, if that's what I think it is. It's not, Ethan interrupted with a laugh. I mean, not yet. We've been dating for 2 months. Sophia, I'm many things, but I'm not impulsive about marriage. Sophia felt relief and disappointment in equal measure. Then what is it? Ethan handed her the box. Open it. Sophia unwrapped the box to reveal a beautiful necklace. A delicate gold chain with a small airplane pendant, its wings set with tiny diamonds. Ethan, Sophia breathed. It's beautiful, I thought, Ethan said, fastening the necklace around her neck, that you could wear it as a reminder that no matter how far you fly, you've always got a place to land. Sophia felt tears prick her eyes. I love it. I love you. I love you too, Ethan said, his arms coming around her waist. And, Sophia, when you come back from San Francisco as Vice President Martinez, I'm going to ask you a very important question. Sophia's heart skipped. What kind of question? The kind that involves a much bigger ring and a very long conversation about our future, Ethan said with a smile. Sophia kissed him then, pouring all of her love and excitement and terror about the future into the kiss. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Sophia rested her forehead against Ethan's. I can't wait, she whispered. Neither can I, Ethan replied. 6 weeks later, Sophia stood in her new San Francisco office, gazing out at the Golden Gate Bridge, while video chatting with Ethan. She'd been in California for 2 weeks, and while the work was exhilarating and demanding, she missed New York and Ethan more than she'd anticipated. How's the Horizon team treating you? Ethan asked from her laptop screen. Like a superstar, Sophia admitted. Elizabeth introduced me to their board as the interface genius from New York. It was embarrassing and incredible. You are an interface genius, Ethan pointed out. How's the project going? Ahead of schedule, actually, Sophia said proudly. The modular system we designed is performing flawlessly. I think we'll complete the initial implementation in 4 months instead of 6. That's phenomenal, Sophia. I'm so proud of you. I miss you, Sophia said, the words slipping out before she could hold them back. I miss you too, Ethan replied, his expression softening. But only 73 more days until your first visit home. You're counting? Sophia teased, a smile tugging at her lips. I'm definitely counting, Ethan confirmed. Lucas printed mia calendar. He's been surprisingly supportive of our long-distance situation. Sophia laughed. He told me yesterday that I seemed disgustingly happy for someone working 16-hour days. Are you happy? Ethan asked, his tone turning serious. Sophia paused to consider the question. She was thriving professionally, respected by her colleagues, and building something extraordinary, yet she was also missing the man she loved and navigating a relationship across 3 time zones. I'm happy, she said finally. Exhausted, stressed, sometimes lonely, but happy. This project is everything I dreamed it would be, Ethan, and knowing you're waiting for me, it makes it all worthwhile. Good, Ethan said, his voice warm, because I have news that might make things even better. What kind of news? Sophia asked, leaning closer to the screen. Ethan grinned. Pinnacle just landed a major client in Los Angeles. Someone needs to fly out next week to meet with them. Sophia's heart leapt. Someone? Someone who happens to be the CEO and who might have time for a weekend detour to San Francisco, Ethan said with a playful shrug. Sophia squealed, prompting amused glances from her new colleagues nearby. Really? She whispered, trying to temper her excitement. Really, Ethan confirmed. I'll be there Friday evening. I hope you know some good restaurants. I know the perfect place, Sophia said, thinking of a cozy Italian restaurant she'd found in North Beach, reminiscent of their first date in Greenwich Village. I can't wait. Sophia, Ethan said, his voice softening. I love you. I'm proud of you, and I can't wait to see what incredible things you achieve out there. I love you too, Sophia replied, her heart full. All of you, even when you're 3,000 miles away. That evening, Sophia strolled along the San Francisco waterfront, Ethan's airplane necklace glinting in the light of the setting sun. She reflected on how much her life had transformed in the past 6 months. From an unemployed designer to a senior director leading a $50 million project across the country, she thought of Ethan, likely working late in his Manhattan office, counting down the days until they could reunite. She thought of their future, uncertain but brimming with potential. Sophia had learned that love wasn't about avoiding turbulence. It was about finding someone worth weathering the storms with, someone who supported your dreams, even when they led you in different directions, and who celebrated every milestone of your journey. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. Just booked my flight to San Francisco. Can't wait to see you in 5 days. Sweet dreams, my brilliant, beautiful girl. Sophia smiled, typing back. Can't wait to show you my new city. Fair warning, I'm going to hug you for approximately 3 hours straight when you land. Yes, I'm counting on it. Love you. Love you, too. Always. As Sophia headed back to her apartment, she realized that somewhere between the airport confrontation and the San Francisco sunset, she'd found exactly what she'd been searching for. A career that challenged her, work that mattered, and a love that made everything possible. The future was uncertain, filled with flights, video calls, and cross-country logistics. But it was also radiant with possibility, and Sophia couldn't wait to see where their next adventure would lead. After all, the best love stories weren't about smooth sailing. They were about finding someone worth navigating the beautiful chaos of life with, one flight at a time. Pinnacle Solutions. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the Pinnacle Solutions boardroom, officially accepting her promotion to Vice President of Innovation. Ethan was at the head of the table, his smile proud and professional, but Sophia could see the personal joy in his green eyes. Congratulations, Vice President Martinez, Ethan said formally, though his voice carried a warmth that made Sophia's heart flutter. Thank you, Mr. Thornton, Sophia replied, equally formal, but with a secret smile. As the meeting adjourned and people filed out, Sophia found herself alone with Ethan for the first time since returning from San Francisco the previous week. So, Ethan said, loosening his tie slightly, Vice President Martinez, how does it feel? Terrifying and exhilarating, Sophia admitted. I still can't believe I pulled off the Horizon project. I can, Ethan said, stepping closer. You're extraordinary, Sophia. You always have been. Sophia felt her cheeks warm. Flattery will get you everywhere, Mr. Thornton. I'm counting on it, Ethan said with a grin, because I have something I need to ask you. Sophia's heart began to race as Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Sophia Martinez, Ethan said, dropping to one knee in the middle of the boardroom. You called me a ridiculous, stuck-up jerk in an airport 6 months ago, and somehow that was the beginning of the best thing that's ever happened to me. Sophia felt tears well in her eyes. Ethan, you've taught me that love isn't about finding someone who makes life easy, Ethan continued, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. It's about finding someone who makes life worth living, even when it's complicated. Yes, Sophia whispered. I haven't asked the question yet, Ethan said with a laugh. I don't care, Sophia said, dropping to her knees in front of him. Whatever you're asking, the answer is yes. Ethan opened the box to reveal a stunning ring. A classic solitaire with a diamond that sparkled like a star. Sofia Elena Martinez, Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. Will you marry me? Will you build an amazing, chaotic, beautiful life with me? Yes, Sophia said, throwing her arms around his neck. Yes, yes, absolutely yes. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger with trembling hands, and Sophia marveled at how perfectly it fit. I love you, Ethan said, cupping her face in his hands. I love your ambition and your talent and your terrible opinions about pineapple pizza. I love you too, Sophia replied, laughing through her tears. All of you. Even your questionable taste in pizza toppings. They kissed then, right there in the boardroom where they'd had their first professional meeting, where Sophia had proven herself, where Ethan had learned to see her not just as an employee, but as a partner, in every sense of the word. When they finally broke apart, Sophia looked down at her ring, then up at Ethan's face, radiant with happiness. So, Sophia said, settling into Ethan's arms, what's our next adventure going to be? I was thinking, Ethan said, pressing a kiss to the top of her head, we could start with planning a wedding, and then maybe we could travel the world, designing interfaces for international clients, building a company together. Together, Sophia repeated, loving the sound of it. Together, Ethan confirmed, through every bit of turbulence, every smooth patch, every adventure that comes our way. Sophia looked around the boardroom, reflecting on how far they'd come. From a disastrous airport encounter to a Fortune 500 boardroom engagement, their love story had been anything but conventional. But, as Sophia nestled into Ethan's embrace, his airplane necklace warm against her throat and his grandmother's engagement ring sparkling on her finger, she realized that conventional was overrated. After all, the best love stories, Sophia had learned, began with a little chaos and grew into something beautiful through patience, trust, and the willingness to fly together, no matter where the journey led. And, as far as Sophia was concerned, their journey was just beginning.